Welcome back to the Justin Prince Show. Today's episode will be one of those ones that you take the lessons of, like, how do you take the challenges of life and the pains of life and the hurts of life, and you convert it from pain that destroys you or pulls you down to fuel that drives your future. And Jerrica Vaughn is just a bright light. She's a really powerful force in the world. I've known her now for the last number of years and watched her, no kidding, I've watched her 500% her income, no kidding, and just completely change her life, her family's life, and the lives of so many other people. And you'll sense this as we talk through this interview, her vulnerability and her authenticity and her realness, as a human, but then also her resoluteness. And I think there's so many lessons that you'll be able to pull of I have dreams too, and the lessons that you need to do to create and to design an extraordinary life. So I'm excited for you guys to meet Jerrica Vaughn. And if you get some value from this, make sure you share it and subscribe to the channel. Jerrica, I'm so excited to do this with you. So I feel bad every time I see you. We live, I think, 4 minutes from each other, and we feel like we never see each other except for on Zooms
It's
online, First time we ever connected, your husband sent me a message, basically said, my wife is awesome, and my wife works so hard, and you were in a direct sales business. He's like, she works so hard, and he's like, I don't think she's getting the results that she should be getting. And he's like, I just think she needs maybe the next level of mentoring or whatever. And I'm like, well, let's do a Zoom. And then I figured out you guys live 4 minutes away. I'm like, no, we're not doing a Zoom. Come over to my house,
I know.
So man, that was a number of years ago, and it's been a really amazing partnership since. So I'm so excited you're here.
No, I am so honored. I mean, yeah, we go back not very far, but it's been really life-changing.
What has it been now? 3-4 years? 3 years?
No, we got in contact 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah. Man, to see what's happened to your life in the last 3 years is almost unbelievable.
I mean, it's a testament of what mentorship can do. Like my husband said, I don't think she's getting the proper mentorship that she needs. And I wasn't. I was grinding so hard for 5 years and getting really nowhere. My income was, for that company, it was pretty decent. But seeing what mentorship can do, I actually did numbers yesterday, and just looking at my first 3 months in my first company compared to my first 3 months in this company, 8 years later, and it was over 500 times.
Jeez.
And I was mind blown.
Well, so check this out. I'm at the airport the other day, and I get a text from your financial advisor, who's one of my buddies. I didn't actually know I didn't know he was your financial advisor. So he texts me and he goes, hey, can you talk? And I'm literally going from terminal to terminal, about to connect on the next flight. So I call him, and I love him. He's such a good man. And he goes, I got a bone to pick with you. And I go, what's up? And he goes, I knew you were launching a company. We talked about it because we were in the same neighborhood, go to the same church. We actually did some coaching together for a year. And so I just love him. And he goes, but I didn't know it was up and going. He goes, Jerrica Vaughn is my client. And I just sat down with she and her husband doing their kind of financial situation. And he's like, what the heck is happening? You have people making this much money, and we're just getting this thing started. So he was teasing me, but he's just like, dude, congratulations, And I said, Jerrica she's a force of nature, and it's so fun to see you. It's fun to see you crushing. Here's the thing: is 8 years that I don't want people to miss that.
Oh,
because it's
sure.
All of that effort that you put in. It's all those seeds that you put into the soil. And I'm talking just the way you grew as a human. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not just that you have all these people. It's just that you grew, your confidence grew, your skills grew, so that you were ready for the right opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I always hear people joke about it. It took me 15 years to be an overnight success. I'm like, a lot of people see where you're at and they want that, but they don't see the years of daily grinding that it took to get there. And I'm just one of those people that when I decided I was going to do it, I'm like, this is going to be it, and I'm going to give it my all. And so it started 8 years ago. I actually started, it sounds crazy, but I love the stories. I signed up for my first network marketing company to be a fitness coach when I was 34 weeks pregnant on bedrest, and I had no clue, but I knew that they had the tools, and I had the heart to help people. And even though I couldn't work out, I could help other people with their health, and it was all workout programs, and I could barely walk. but I knew that I had the heart to help people if they had those goals. So I did. I said yes, and I announced that I was now a health and fitness coach, and I was on bed rest.
How did you make that identity shift? Because I think one of the things people struggle with is like, are people going to like think that I'm, different now? And we kind of hold on to these kind of older identities. This idea of like, guys, I'm a health and fitness coach now.
Yeah.
And your friends are like, I don't think you are, because you're in bed rest and you're pregnant.
Yeah.
How did you make that identity shift? Is I guess my first question. The second thing is, how did you get the courage to say, publicly declare it, declare this new vision?
So my mom always told me, we wouldn't worry about what people think about us if we realized how seldom they do. People are always worried about themselves. They're not really worried about what
So
other
good.
people. And so I didn't care. I saw the opportunity, and honestly, I don't think I fully grasped like what it was. I was just like, I've always been somebody who likes to work. I like to earn my own income. Even though my husband does super well, I don't need to work, which is such a blessing, but I love pursuing my goals, and I love seeing what I can achieve. And so I didn't care. I was like, I just want to see what I can do. And I've always been into health and fitness, and so, I mean, bed rest was a rough pill for me, and like pregnancy never even fazed me until that last one.
By the way, tell us about your family. Like, what are the ages of your kids?
I have a 15-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, and a 7-year-old daughter.
Got it.
So this was with the 7-year-old. I signed up right before she was born. She's almost 8. So
wow. And you're from, in essence, a small town. I want to talk about like your growing up, because I sometimes wonder if, we see you today, and you're such a vibrant, just powerful person. And, you see you online and you're like, well, of course she's successful. Like, look at her kind of thing. She's so consistent and she's so fit and that whole thing. But, you kind of grew up in small town America, right?
Yeah.
So walk us through growing up. What was that like? And
Man.
if we met you in high school, like, who was Jerrica in high school?
It's so interesting because I look at different groups of kids these days, and like some are super involved in sports and then some are gamers. No problem, but like growing up, we didn't sit on screens, and so I was on a gymnastics traveling team at 8 years old, and I danced, ballet, jazz, clogging, like I did all the things. And then I was on a dance team, and then in high school it was cheer and dance and gymnastics. Like I was going nonstop. And so we had a massive friend group, but we all did the same thing. So we all went to dance together, we all went to cheer together. It was like 5 a.m. practices until 8 p.m. at night, or we had games. I was just always on the go, always active.
Yeah. So do you feel like a lot of your work ethic, like one of the things about you, one of the words I would use for you is consistency. Like I feel like you show up, in this case specifically online, right? But you show up with such a level of professionalism and consistency. You show up on the good days, you show up on the bad days, you show up on the days when you feel like it, you show up on the days you don't feel like it. Do you feel like a lot of that was built, those muscles were built during those early years?
I don't know. I grew up actually watching my mom build network marketing. And
Oh, really?
I did not even know that was
I
what she was doing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was in a company for, I don't even know how long. But it's so funny because I think about like when my kids come in my office and I'm on a call and I'm like, oh my gosh, like can you go out? I grew up with my mom. She was on conference calls, and I was laying on the floor by her desk just waiting, and just like in between calls we'd chat, and I'm like, I probably drove her nuts, but that's where I learned it. She was always working, always grinding, doing like building that while building. She had a salon.
Wow.
So like I saw her doing it, and so it was just like that's just what I did. I started and I showed up every single day, like you said, the good days and the bad days. And it's funny because I don't think of myself as like this, definitely not an influencer by any means. I'm more of like the hot mess. I show up like mostly on the bad days. Like it's just part of my life. Like I love working. I love seeing what I can accomplish. I love seeing what other people can accomplish, and it really drives me. Like I love it.
How did you ever feel like an imposter syndrome that they talk about, like kind of the who am I to do this, particularly when you've done it for a couple months, done it for a couple years, yes, you were succeeding, but not humongous success, right?
Yeah.
How did you keep showing up in those days? And did you ever feel that like, I'm kind of an imposter, like I'm not as successful as as people maybe think I am or whatever? Like, how did you show up in those days?
I mean, I feel like I feel that way more now than I used to, because
That is
I'm
so interesting.
always putting myself in rooms with people who are higher achievers than I am. And so I feel like, okay, I don't belong here, like it inspires me to show up and achieve what they're achieving, and I know I have the heart and the passion and the drive to do it, but it's putting myself in those rooms that I'm like, oh, I'm like the small guy here, but no, I truly feel like my favorite thing is empowering people who didn't think that they could do it. And so I don't attract the big influencers or the people who are like, oh, got this in the bag. I actually bring on more people who need someone to believe in them. And truthfully, like the person who that was for me was you. Like I came in out of a 5-year business, not feeling like that I had what it took, because I had done it for 5 years and I was only at that level, right? And so it took somebody believing in me, saying, no, you have what it takes to do this. And now I'm like, that's what I love to be for other people.
Yeah. It's interesting when you say that, because when we first partnered, I don't know if you remember this. I told you, I was like, no, sister, you are not like this much income a month lady. You are this much income. And you're literally, so in the 2 years we were together in that business, the revenues of the business were softening, and your business was growing. In fact, during that season, you were the I think the only person that hit the ranks that you hit and the titles that you hit, during that season. Like people weren't really, advancing like you were. And then again, I look at what's happened now, and to your point, if you compare it to the early years, you've 500% increased your success. It's just so special to watch. Do you want to know what's also interesting? So like as we're filming this, we have some of Sarah and Abby and Ty and so on as we're in here doing this. And I think of like them thinking of you as like, when you're in the room, you're kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here. And I'm like, isn't that so interesting? Because none of us would think that about you. We'd all be like, oh, heck yeah, she's supposed to be in here. Of course she is. But I wonder if a lot of us feel that way. We kind of look at ourselves like, I don't know if I have what it takes, or I don't know if I deserve to be in this room, that kind of thing. So, man, it's a great lesson, I think, for all of us to remember that we are worthy to be in the rooms, You've earned the right to be there. And there's people in the room with you thinking, I cannot believe I'm in the room with her.
Well, and even right now, just thinking about this, I'm like, I would never have somebody else in the room and be thinking, what is she doing here? I would never think that. And so I don't know why I feel like that sometimes with other people. I get on these big calls, and I'm on these committee calls with people that in my first company, they were the tippy top. And I'm like, I am now working like side by side with these people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you had to, how have you stepped into that new identity for you? Or do you feel like you're like, I'm still in the process of stepping into it right now as we speak?
Well, I feel like I'm constantly, I always want to grow. And so I do realize like the growth that I've made, but I'm also like, okay, what else can I improve on? How else can I grow? And it's a daily thing. Like I'm constantly doing personal development. I'm constantly looking at people doing better than I am. I'm constantly like, what are they doing that I can implement? And so, yeah, it's just, I'm always in growth mode.
Yeah, love that. One of the things we talked about consistency, but I want to talk if I want to kind of shift gears. So when we were working together, your brother passed. And I watched how you navigated a really, really challenging, really human experience. And my guess is, as people listen to this, we've all had those moments of our life that are like, whew, those are the ones that almost took us to our knees, Walk us through that experience and how you've navigated that and still felt the grief and the pain of it, but then also found the joy in it and also continued to show up for yourself and for others. Like, how did you do all of that when I know it's a really challenging experience?
That is the biggest trial so far in my life. And I've been through a few. I had a baby by myself. My oldest, I did not know my husband when I had her. So I've gone through a lot of things in my life, and I've lost people I was close to. I don't particularly do well with death. But having, my baby brother leave so unexpectedly. And I think a hard thing with that, it was his heart that stopped in his sleep. And it wasn't his choice to leave, I think is something that really, really sticks with me. And with that, I always think, like, what would he want me to be doing? And how can I use, my position and what I am building to create a life that he would be proud of? That I think the hardest part is that he's not here for that, but I know that what I'm doing is my main goal is time freedom.
Yeah.
It's always been to spend more time with my family and create more memories. And I think losing my brother has just really ignited that, because I want to help other people have that time freedom.
Yeah.
And so really, it's really hard on some days. Yesterday was his 2-year anniversary of him passing. And my body holds on to grief. So I feel like my body shuts down at certain milestones or anniversaries. But truthfully, yesterday, I only cried once. And it was because I not necessarily buried myself in work, but I was fulfilling that. I was helping other people build their business, and helping them with their goals and their dreams and building the life they want. And it truly did. It was a healing for me.
I feel like there's those interesting shifts where it's I call it convert the hurt. It's the pain, it goes through, and we can have pain. In this case, it's the pain of loss, right? And it's all the pain of loss. So it's what could have been and should have been, and just all the stuff, the questions we all go through. But then also it's the pain of really challenging situations, or the pain of people tearing you down, or whatever it is. And instead of letting it crush you, or engulf you, or pull you down where you can't function anymore, you somehow go through a conversion process where you convert it into fuel. And it somehow fuels your dreams and makes you a better person.
Yep. So it was 2 years ago, I attended one of our conferences, a couple weeks after he passed, and I heard Madison Vining share her story about loss. And she had talked about turning grief into gratitude. And that was super impactful for me. So instead of just grieving that he's not here, it was I'm so grateful for the times that I had, and honestly for this industry. And I'm so grateful and so blessed that I've never had to clock in and clock out as a mom, and this industry allowed me more time with him. So we got to take him on vacations with us, and he was the best uncle. My kids have so many memories with him.
One of the things about him, and I never met him, but just from is he had a joy for Legos, and just almost had almost like a childlike spirit. So you could see as an uncle, he'd probably be the most fun uncle ever, because he was kind of like a kid,
He was.
That is so cool. Grief into gratitude. That is such a great way to position it and think about it.
Yep.
Wow. How old were you when you had your first child?
I was 22. Like anything in life, once I decide I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it 100%. And I found out that I was pregnant, and I mean, there was no other option for me than I'm going to have her, and I'm going to give her the best life that I can. And I did. I went 100%, and I had never gone to college, but I enrolled for some college classes. I moved home, and I completed all of my college before she was born. So I did all of it in a semester, or less than a semester. Not a degree, but a certificate. And that literally is the only continued education that I have.
Because you grew up in kind of a religious community. Did you feel like your home was religious growing up?
Oh yeah, my dad was a bishop at the time that I got pregnant.
So unfortunately, right? I'm assuming someone, in the community, was it still in Richfield? So it's a smaller community too, right? So I'm sure someone said what's the, that kind of thing. Did you have to process that, or were you just kind of like, I'm doing my life and I'm going to do it the best I can, and I don't need to process all your issues?
There was a few. I wasn't the first that this had happened to, and I feel like they got more shame than I did. It was more accepted or common, I guess, when I got pregnant. But no, I've always just owned it. I've owned my decisions. I've owned the consequences that come with decisions, which I hate to use that word consequence because I don't feel like she is a consequence.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I mean, there's good consequences, but no, it was the way that I handled myself, and instead of feeling shame and expecting or feeling like everybody was looking down on me, like I owned it, and I wasn't 17, right? Like I was 22, and I was going to do what I needed to do to give her a good life.
And how much longer after her birth were you and Justin married?
We met when she was 6 months old.
And
we got married the week before she turned 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how are you financially taking care of yourself, and in this case now a new baby?
I mean, I have incredible parents. So I lived at home.
Got it. Yeah.
And they were incredible, but I worked and I went to school.
What kind of work were you doing at that point?
Just retail. Just worked in a department store.
And then when did you guys leave Richfield? Was that after?
I moved out when she was 8 months old. I moved to St. George.
Wow.
And I got a job, and I had a family friend, actually the one who introduced me and Justin. She would babysit for me. She had a little girl around the same age, and so they just played all day, and she just watched her for me. And then, I mean, when I met Justin, I knew the day I met him that I was going to marry him. I actually called my sister, and I told her, I'm going to marry him. And we were engaged 2 months later and married 3 months after that.
So, first of all, I really appreciate you sharing, going deeper on some of these subjects. There's so much humanity in the challenges that we face. Mm-hmm. So the play Les Miserables means the miserables in French. And the reason that here we are, hundreds of years later after writing that, and it still resonates with all of us, is because we can all relate to the misery and the challenge of life. Life's not only just all the good stuff, right? There's all the real life stuff we all go through. Yeah, it's all the roller coaster of everything else. So I just appreciate you sharing that, and it's so interesting. I just admire you even more, not just that you went through it, but the way that you chose to go through it. Because it sounds cliche, but I think it's really true. It's like you can go through things and you can grow through things. Like you can be like, I'm going to intentionally like pull the lessons out and like grow through this, and like set a mindset that's a growth mindset versus a victim mindset, for example. And you can actually grow through things that like actually does make you better.
Yep.
And I feel like hearing, as you've processed these really challenging life experiences, you looked at it as, I'm going to grow through this and get better through this. Is that a fair way to assess it?
Absolutely. For me, there was just no other option. I wasn't going to sink down, right? I was going to rise up from that and do it the best that I could in everything that I do, but especially through the challenges.
What was it about Justin that you're just like, well, he's my guy? Like what?
I mean, you've met him.
Oh yeah. He was my guy too. No, he's an easy guy to like, you know?
I mean, it was so seamless. He very quickly became my best friend, and he stepped into that father role that she didn't have. And don't get me wrong, her birth dad is great. We don't have a relationship, but he's a great guy. And
is he involved in her life at this point?
No, he allowed my husband to adopt her when she was 18 months old.
Wow.
And so, I mean, Justin is the only dad she's ever really known.
Yeah, of course.
But that's not to take away, like, her birth dad is a great guy.
You want to know what's so interesting? So, from the day Missy and I met, well, first of all, let me start with this. My biggest fear was to get married. Mm-hmm. So my folks got divorced when I was 12. We moved 13 times in the 7 years, so the teenage years. So I just like kind of experienced the pain of divorce, but more from the kid perspective and from the parent perspective, meaning your mom would talk to you about it, your dad would talk to you about it. Your mom, I remember her crying on my shoulder many, many, many times when she was just so stressed out. I was the oldest at home. She's like, "Why are you so strong?" And I'm like, thinking, I have no idea, Mom, but we're going to get through this, And I almost like, I don't know what other options we have, And then, watching my dad go through the pain of it, he had a suicide letter written, through that whole time, because it was just such a devastating thing for him to go through. And so there's just a lot of pain involved in divorce.
Yeah.
So marriage for me was just like, oh, dude, I didn't want to get married and get divorced.
Yeah.
The day Missy and I met to the day we were married was 3 months, and I wasn't trying to beat your record. This is not a race, but literally, so we met on a Tuesday for lunch, and we met on a Tuesday. We talked on the phone. This is back in the day. You're like, everyone get off the phone. Get off the phone. Do you remember those days where it's like a landline,
Yep.
Until your cell phone kicked in. I think at like after 8, you're like, okay, now we can talk. And we talked that night for like 2 or 3 hours, and then Thursday we hung out. Friday we hung out, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those 3 days we talked. Wednesday, Thursday. Sunday we go for a drive, and I told her, I go, well, I'm definitely going to marry you. I'm like, I'm not sure when, but I'm definitely going to marry you. I just was like, this is my girl. Like, let's go. So I don't know.
You know.
Well, here's what's funny though, is when you know, but would I like encourage my kids to? I'd be like, no, get to know, you know how it is now. You're like, get to know them and take your time. By the way, not because Missy and I have had any, challenge that way, but I'm just saying like just normal advice. You'd be like, calm down and let a couple seasons pass, whatever. But they're like, no, I know, and let's go do this thing.
Yep.
Were you moving too fast for your parents, or were they like, yo, he's a great and you're great and let's go?
It's funny. We had a conversation with my parents, the whole like, hey, we want to get married. And we still to this day, I'm like, my parents tried to talk him out of it. And they were like,
wait, talk him out of it?
Yes. And they were like, she's a lot. Like, she's always up here. And he's like, that's what I love about her.
She's a lot.
He
That
would
is so
probably argue
awesome.
that now. He's like, come down a little bit. But I'm stubborn, but like, I know what I want. And there's like, once my mind's made up, again, like I am going to do it.
That is so funny.
And so even my mother-in-law's jokes about it, like, oh, don't get that in Jerrica's mind. Like, she's going to do it. She'll find a way to make it happen. And they're just like, she's always up here. She's always.
What does up here mean?
Like I'm just high energy, and I'm headstrong and stubborn, and somebody made this point the other day. She's like, do you know you are always smiling? Even when you're crying, you're smiling. And I'm like, I've never noticed that.
You have the opposite of ugly cry. You have the happy smile
still
cry.
An ugly cry. I don't even. It's how I am. I just have I believe in positive energy, and it's not a toxic positivity. I'll acknowledge, life and things like that. But I really try to look for the silver lining in anything.
How much do you think that headstrong, let's call it stubborn, but stubborn I feel like almost has like kind of a negative connotation, being very resolute. How much do you think that's attributed to the success that you've created from an economic or business perspective?
I mean, I try to bring fun and good energy into anything that I do. So team calls or events, or even somebody really struggling, I'm looking for what is the good in this? How can we learn from this? And I believe it helps empower people, and it's empowered me. And so I am constantly looking for, okay, even when I achieve a goal, like where am I going now, and how am I going to get there? Who can I help along the way, and who can I link arms with and go achieve this with? It's not fun to do it alone. It's lonely at the top, and I don't want to be there alone. I want to take other people with me. And if you're having fun and, trying to look in the good in everything, or look for the good in everything, that it's going to be more enjoyable for other people too. And I feel like you're able to, bring more people with you. More people want to. It's magnetic. People want to go with you, and you have fun and a positive attitude about things. So
at my wedding dinner, just going back to your mom talking Justin out of it, it's hilarious. But at my wedding dinner, my dad says to Missy, he goes, Missy, Justin has two like speeds. He goes, he's kind of like a light switch. He's like, it's either like off and he's asleep, or it's like on and it's like full tilt, So he's just like, there's no like, let's just dial it back and just be medium, And I wonder, as I'm listening to you say this, are these like some of these principles or characteristics or ingredients of success? Of it's like, I will persist until I succeed, and like I'm going to make this thing happen. Like I remember thinking, if it's legal, moral, ethical, I'm in. Like I'm doing this, and like if I've said yes, I'm in. And kind of being a little bit of a finisher, so you don't just start stuff.
Yep.
Do you look at yourself that way? Like, is there part of your identity that's like, no. If I say yes, if I'm in, I'm going to go finish the project. Like, I'm going to make this thing happen.
Oh, 100%. In everything. That's why they're like, careful what you like.
Yeah,
Put
be
in
careful.
Jerrica's mind,
Yeah.
because she'll make it happen. And I will. Like, I dream big, and my work ethic matches my expectations. And
That is so good.
I show up to achieve the things I want to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, one of the frameworks I teach is you want to define your dream. So imagine like a scale of 1 to 10, right? Define your dream. So let's say your dream's at 8. And then you want to make a commitment. So define the dreams, the one side, 1 to 10, make a commitment, 1 to 10. Most folks have like a 10 dream and a 2 commitment, right? They're like, I want this. And then they're show up with this much effort to get, to make it happen. One of the things I think that you do so well is you have a 10 dream and a 10 commitment. Like your commitment level matches the dream level, because that's where all the stress lies. Like, I want all these things. And it's like, yeah, but we're not willing to pay the price for those things. Yep. And you want those to sync, where the commitment level matches the dream size.
Yeah.
What do you feel like now? Like, I remember I had a person close to me once. They're like, dude, if I made $10,000 a month, they're like, dude, I just would never work again. They're like, it would just lit off the gas and just live my best life and just chill out. In this case, you make way more than $10,000 a month. What drives you? Like, what is waking you up early? What keeps you fired up? Why do you keep showing up with a high level of passion versus just like, why not just chill out and let off the gas? Like, what do you feel like it is that really moves you to say, I'm going to keep doubling down and keep like showing up and serving people?
It's the impact that you have on people. If I just chilled out now and just collected a check, it's not fulfilling. You'll have money in the bank, but like, what is that for? Like, you don't take that with you when you die. It's what impact can you make every single day on other people? And I honestly, in turn, like, they make that impact on me. I was actually telling these girls, and I was talking to my husband about it. I had a girl in my very first company that was like, if she listens to this, I'm so sorry, but she was like my biggest headache. It was not a lot.
We've all had those.
Yes. But we have remained friends, and I've watched her grow, and I've supported her and empowered her through, over the last 8 years. And she now has her own company, and we actually just bought a bunch of gifts and products, from her to celebrate our team. And she messaged me, just crying. She's like, this saved my business, and she's like, this, like, you've always been there supporting me, but like, this alone, like, just ordering these gifts for my team literally is saving my business.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's that that's impactful for me, and right there I'm like, okay, this is like, it's full circle for me. Like, you were a big headache of mine 8 years ago, but just showing up and supporting people, even not in my own business. She was doing her own thing, but like, hearing that now, it's like, don't give up on people.
Yeah.
You can help them achieve their dreams, even outside of your own.
Yeah.
It's just that impact. That's what fuels me.
Yeah. I mean, money is an exchange of appreciation. And so like the income that you've built it's really an exchange of this value that you're adding to the marketplace, and this value that you're adding people's lives, particularly in our business. Our business, you literally can't do it. You can't do what you're doing by yourself. Like at some point you have to have you have to be serving other people and adding value to other people's lives, making their life a little bit better, encouraging them, teaching them new skills, like helping them to, work past challenges and roadblocks that they face. And to your point, I teach an ILI formula. So it's income, lifestyle, impact. So it's like, we're all trying to make an income, right? We want to provide for ourselves and our families and so on. But the real goal is not income. The real goal is lifestyle, meaning, do I love my life? Do I wake up when I want to wake up, and can I live a life that I love? Or is my stress level, so exorbitant? Or am I, for example, if someone said, I'll give you all the money, but you'll never see your family, and you'll lose your faith, and you'll lose your health. We're all like, no thanks. The income's not worth the lifestyle. So we're trying to create a life that we love. But then the other part is, am I impacting people? Like, does my work matter? That's one of the things about you is I really feel like you impact people, even those that don't work with you, like people that follow you on social, for example. you make a positive impact in their life just because you show up with, they're not doing business with you at all,
Yeah.
but you're like impacting and serving and like inspiring and lifting people. And that's one of the really unique things I think about your energy is it is impactful energy, you know? So those things are like the kind of the joke of like, she's always up. It's like, yeah, but that always up rubs off on everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, it lifts everybody else as well. And I love this idea that you always have a smile on that. Just as I even hear you say that, I'm like, that's 100% how I would describe her. You know, she's just I've never called you once and you're like, we even went through the challenges.
Yeah.
And we've had some times together where it was like a challenging times, you know, meaning with all the situations that you were going through, whether in this case it was your brother or we had business challenges, but you're always like a positive, optimistic person.
Yeah.
That's a real gift, you know? When you cast out these next, let's call it 5 years, 10 years, what are you seeing now? Like, even better, 8 years. You've been building a business for 8 years. As you cast out your next 8 years, and I'm sharing this with people to say sometimes you can go through a multiplication. Sometimes it feels like you're like one. It's like the doubling a penny every day. It's like 1 is now 2.
Yeah.
And then 2 is 4, and then 4 is 8 cents, and you're like, this is never going to go anywhere. And then all of a sudden, like that exponential curve kicks in, and you're like, I've got this, you know? As you start kind of casting out that vision of the next 8 years, how do you quantify that? What are you seeing in your mind as far as like, this is what I want to go do over these next 8 years, and this exponential curve that kicks in?
I mean, it's time with my family. What can I build for my family? I mean, right now, looking at the economy, like my kids would never be able to own a home, for their family. And so right now it's like, we've never lived beyond our means. We've always made memories and, spent things to go enjoy the money, but we've been very, very smart and invested it and rolled, we built a house, we'd live in it for 2 years, we'd sell it. We'd build another house, live in it for 2 years, sell it. And we've just kind of rolled that over. And right now it's like, I want to be really smart with what we create so that it impacts our kids' lives in a positive way. I'm not going to go, make $1 million and go on all these lavish trips and then my kids have nothing. It's, yes, we'll make memories, we'll go have experiences, but we want to create a legacy. We want something that we can leave to our kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now, my in-laws and all of our family, we just bought property like out in the middle of nowhere. I won't even tell you where because it's the boonies. But we want to create this farm,
That's so cool.
All of our kids ride dirt bikes, so they have a track up there. We want a pond. We have animals up there. We all just kind of want this sanctuary, but something that stays in the family.
Yeah.
And that's something we're working on right now is what can we leave for our kids?
Yeah, my passion like with our teams is not just it's not just to help them learn how to make money, like make money online, for example, or even for just help them get healthy. Although I want to do both those things, it really is like learning how to take those dollars and then be wise with them, like learn financial principles. I had no financial education, no financial literacy. Like I just kind of bumped around and like kind of figured it out as I went, but where you build a financial fortress around your family where the winds can blow and the rain can fall and your family's still okay, your family's still protected, that fires me up, And so like to see you succeeding at the level that you're succeeding at, but instead of like, I'm going to go buy more goofy stuff, it's like, no, I'm going to build a financial fortress around my family, because there's, nothing grows to the moon. So there's ebbs and flows in all of life. It's just how life works. And there's seasons to life. So to be wise in the harvest seasons, that shows so much emotional maturity and emotional strength. So for the person listening that is still at that place of like in essence, small town girl, baby before marriage, like they're wondering if they have what it takes. What advice, what message or advice or wisdom would you share with them?
I mean, look to somebody that you aspire to be like and mimic what they're doing. If it's possible for them, it's proof that it's possible for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've always looked at is who am I looking to achieve what they've achieved? And I mimic what they're doing. And I am constantly growing, mentally and doing the actions, to get me closer to where I want to be. But it's, if somebody else has done it, it's proof that it's possible for you. And it doesn't play favorites. It's consistency, connections, and you can go do it.
I love that. Well, listen, you're one of my favorite people, and we need to hang out more often. We're
Likewise.
4 minutes away, I feel like I see you, but I don't. We always are like, when are we going to get our kids together? When are we going to hang out with Justin more often? So, so grateful we were able to do this and do it in person. And I just admire so many things about you. To me, there's so many things to admire. You're just one of those people that is like a bright light in the world. You're like a bright light for so many people, so including me. So I just appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, honored to be on with you.